Good morning, everybody. Good morning. We ready to go? Okay. Good morning. I'm going to call to order the July meeting of the MTA Board Safety Committee. Can we hear the safety announcement?
Your safety is of the foremost importance to the MTA. Therefore, we ask that you listen and adhere to the following instructions. If you witness an emergency, notify emergency personnel in the room and call 911 immediately. Please follow any audible instructions provided through the public address system or visually on screens in the event of an emergency. If an alarm sounds, wait for a public address announcement and follow instructions. If told to go to another floor or to evacuate the building, leave all unessential items behind and use stairwell A just across the main hallway or stairwell B down the hallway past the elevators. If you have a mobility disability or cannot self-evacuate, please proceed to stairwell D or E for assistance by MTA staff or emergency personnel. An automated external defibrillator, AED, for use by trained personnel is in the main hallway just past the elevators. If you need assistance during an evacuation, please tell an MTA staff member or emergency personnel. Thank you and have a safe day.
Thank you. Mr. Diodato, any public speakers?
Thank you, Chair Lieber. We have 4 speakers today. 1 will be remote. As a reminder, we ask that all speakers adhere to MTA's rules of conduct and decorum. Also, in the interest of time and fairness to all speakers, we limit everyone to 2 minutes. Please be aware that there will be a warning beep to remind you that you have 30 seconds to conclude your remarks. Our first speaker will be Christopher Greif, followed by Jason Anthony.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Christopher D. Greif, and happy Disability Pride Month and 8834. First, I want to thank our chief. Thank you for always the safety for our customers with people with disabilities on the railroads and at certain stations, at train stations. And I do want to wish you a happy National Night Out, August 6th. My concern, and always will be my concern, is safety for people with disabilities entering the gates. As you know, we have those private guards. I want to thank you that those private guards are there, but there are some do need accessibility training, which they're not related to NYPD or MTA police, but they are related to the MTA. We just need to remind them that when a person does pay their fare, they need to make sure, let them go in. When is a paying customer? Because you never know, someone could be right behind them and run. The safety has to be careful because a wheelchair and a walker almost got hurt the other day. I did put it into the MTA app, which I always do, but we need to remind the private guards, we need to work on the safety of all seniors and people with disabilities, any mobile devices, and yes, small shopping carts and baby strollers as well. Thank you, everyone, and happy Disability Pride Month 8834. Sir.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Jason Anthony, followed by Mary Bowden.
Good morning, Jano. Good morning, Chief, and good morning to the rest of the Safety Committee. Like Christopher Greif said, the safety guards need more disability training, because not only on Flushing Main Street on the 7 train, we saw this type of incident in other stations as well, like at 42nd Street, Bryant Park. These private security guards, they literally block the emergency gates. Like I see this all the time. They literally stand right in front of the gate, and when a person with disabilities or a parent with strollers or a person with a bike wants to access the system, it's like it's literally impossible for them to enter in a safety manner. But I want to take the occasion to thank Chief Mueller that every time that I go to Penn Station, I feel in a safe environment. And whenever there's a protest at Grand Central, I feel very, very safe, and that we could be well informed, like literally a day in advance when there's a protest occurring at Grand Central. And also, I want to thank Chief Kemper, who is not present at this time, that whenever I commute on the subway, there's more police presence than before. So I want to thank him for that as well. And that's all I have to say for this committee. I'll see you guys later.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Murray Bowden, followed by Matty Buches Highland.
Well, Jana, this is all your fault. You said, come back to the office, face-to-face works, which is the reason I'm here, to reinforce the fact that the best work gets done face-to-face. I got a whole list of things here that were wrong. Half of them have been solved already just because I was here. Kathy and I have going to establish. The reason I can't get the words out is because I'm working on avoiding dementia. It's coming. It's here. You're looking at somebody with slowing down dementia. I can't find the right words. I mix up stuff. I make mistakes. That was my public service. That was going to go after my time. I have to look this stuff up. You said to follow the rules. Bridges and tunnels doesn't follow the rules because the lines on the road are not consistent and they're not legal. The bus routes would go faster if they straightened out their New York City lines, because the lines in the middle should be where the snowplow goes and not where they did it 50 years ago. The lines on the Kosciuszko Bridge point up, the other ones point down and not tell you where you need to go. And somehow somebody has to sit down and say, they changed the manual in December that said, what's the best thing to do for your city? Well, nobody sat down and said, if we changed the lines on a road and we changed the arrows and made it more easy and consistent for the driver, you'd have faster traffic, you'd have less accident. Every accident causes all kinds of backup. You're right, Jano. Nothing works like face-to-face. And if you all understood that and took a few minutes, this is a safety issue.
Thank you. Conclude your remarks.
My extra remarks, yeah, you beeping me. My extra remarks were going to be about the dementia, but it got thrown in the middle. It's been
Thank you. Our last speaker will be Matty Buches Highland.
Thank you, Mr. Diodato. Can you hear me? I guess you can.
Yes, Ken.
All right. Perfect. Good morning, everybody. This is Matty W. Bucky's Highland. Good morning to the chairman and the chief. First of all, as you can see behind me, it's ADA 34 Disability Pride Month. But I want to get to the topic of safety since it's a 2-minute time. I want to thank Chief Mueller as well as the Chief Kemper of the New York Police Department, the MTA Police Department, and the Tri-Borough Bridge and Tunnel Authority. People now feel safe because the crime statistics are down as a result of the chief's effort to maintain that, that we can trust them to be safe. I'm tough on crime and I do support capital punishment and the death penalty. But safety has to be top of mind for everybody, so everybody feels safe and comfortable. Anyway, that's all I have to say for this month, Mr. Diodato. God bless you, and I'll hand it back over to you.
Thank you. That concludes our remarks and the public speaking portion of today's committee meeting.
Thank you, and thank you to all the public speakers. I'm going to skip over the minutes because we don't have a quorum at this time, and ask Mr. Heyman whether we have any changes to the work plan.
Good morning. Yes, Chair. There is a change to the work plan. The grade crossing enhancement project will be briefed at a later time this year.
Okay. Can you now give us a report on the stats, safety and security stats?
Yes, and good morning again. The key safety metrics start on page 8 on the committee book, and agency safety and security statistics can be found on pages 8 through pages 37. Statistics on the authority's safeties metrics remain strong, highlighting the attention that each agency places on this topic. Generally, accident and injury rates for both employees and customers are trending down and remain low. Of note, the number of fires in the subway system, which Tim Dotto, Vice President of New York City Transit System Safety, will give a presentation on that in a moment. Regarding security, the MTA's focus remains unwavering, and we continue to have a significant downtrend in major crimes, and they are lower than 2019 in major crimes per rider. This downtrend speaks directly to the collaborative efforts with federal, state, and local authorities. We are also encouraged by a long-term downtrend in crime. Together with the MTA PD and our partners in NYPD, we are confident we will continue these favorable results. Now, unless there's any questions, I'd like to turn it over to Tim, the Vice President of Safety at New York City Transit, for his presentation.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for the time. Just want to present on a successful initiative that we've had. I could show you that how successful it's been over the last 3 years. You could see that that tan line is the best in the last three years and continuing in that direction. We're very proud of this mitigation. Just want to show you also where these fires typically occur. About 3/4 of them occurring on the right-of-way, nearly a quarter in the stations, and about 5% actually involve our trains. So the Executive Committee on Track Fires is the initiative. It's a multi-departmental coordination. We analyze every fire incident monthly. It's led by the Assistant Chief Track Officer in the Department of Subways, and it includes Office of System Safety, the various DOS divisions that are involved, security, and our marketing division. We look at many elements of fires, including where they occur, the top frequencies, and the list goes on. I won't go through each one, and it's a thorough process every month. We meet for about an hour every time. On the right is actually an excerpt from the report where we look at every top 25 station. This helps us direct our attention appropriately. In stations, you can see that the primary problem is debris and refuse. That occurs on trash receptacles and on the platforms primarily. That includes things like vandalism. Unfortunately, that's very difficult for us to control. But you can see the other elements that we take a look at to make sure that there's nothing within our control that we can mitigate. VAC Train has been a very successful program. There's 3 of them currently, and one there's through the committee they've decided that one should go down for maintenance every month. So I have a couple photos following that show the efficiency of those machines. We look at the paper catchers also. There have been repairs to those, different flaps and things, and improvements to make sure that we capture any of the station refuse before it gets onto the right-of-way. We look at the debris removed by tons, how many bags that are removed, and how many miles of tracks that are cleaned. Car equipment's also looked at, in various components that may contribute to those fires. We did identify some components I'll talk about a little later. And I just wanted to bring out some photos that our car equipment provided me. This is one night of debris collection on the left and one day of leaf collection on the right during the fall season. As you see, the machines do a very good job of capturing a lot of debris in the system. So then we remove the actual fuel for the fires. Car equipment, as you can see, also debris is a primary problem. Debris on a car equipment is when somebody unfortunately lights fires on board the equipment. And you can see here we have we noticed that some components like the high voltage wire were contributing. So then we had a mitigation for those. And for infrastructure, we try to mitigate the water that's coming into the system because, especially during the winter months when we spread salt, the salt will come into the system and affect the insulative properties for the third rail, and that could cause some fires with arcing and tracing and things of that nature. Toward the bottom, you can see that the security emergency response team, those folks go out and try to make sure that anything involving trespassing and debris that folks might bring into our system, and like the emergency exits and near the stations, is cleaned up. So we try to coordinate that with our infrastructure folks. We replaced our fiberglass, are replacing fiberglass insulators right now. What was found that was when they break down, the steel dust impregnates in those and decreases their insulative properties. So those are being replaced as we go on. We track the water intrusion to coordinate those efforts, and we target cleaning the trash receptacle service when we have holiday events and other high volume stations. The train fires, we addressed the cable crimp manufacturing issue because we're looking at all those various components that have contributed. We've also found a new switch lubrication that is less flammable, and those locations where we see that's been being used, we see fires decreasing, so that's been effective. We coordinate vac train and station cleaning together because there's some areas that the vac train cannot clean, so we make sure that the manual cleaning makes that a more effective cleaning effort overall, decreasing the available debris for fires. And we've found a fire retardant coating to apply to high incident tie fire locations as well. Any questions on those efforts? Thank you.
This is, I grew up in New York in the 70s, so dealing with track fires, I haven't forgotten what a big impact that was having on our ability to run the system safely and reliably. So this is a significant initiative. It's early in the morning, so everybody's a little groggy, but not to be overlooked. This is where we need to make sure that this particular impact to our ability to provide on-time service is dealt with, and you guys are doing a great job, so thank you. The other person who knows New York from the 70s, Mr. Albert.
Yeah. We've been talking about it for years, about getting another vac train. What's the status of that? Or have we received all the ones that we're expecting?
I know that we're taking, we'll take one out of service for updating and renovating and maintaining. But we'll get back to you with regards to the additional vac train.
I mean, the track fire stats are indicating that this has made an impact and it is being effective. So let's not overlook the progress that's been made.
I just want to make sure that we're aware that we've used our limited resources very well. They've been hiring up folks to help clean, and they've been coordinating those weekly efforts where we see high incident locations. So it's an overall effort. The vac trains are definitely part of that, but there's a significant amount of other efforts that we're bringing to bear.
Other questions, comments? Okay.
Now we'd like to go to Anthony Mercogliano for an update on the security grant program.
Good morning, everyone. So I bring your attention to the DHS preparedness grants, which support our counterterrorism mitigation efforts here at MTA. We've been participating in the Transit Security Grant Program, Port Security Grant Program, and UIC grants, which all fall under DHS preparedness since 2003. Sorry, Chris, I'm the right button. Which one? Gotcha. Okay. So as you can see, those are the three funding streams I just mentioned. Transit Security Grant Program, which is our primary source of funding for mitigations within New York City transit environment, the commuter rails and bridges, and excluding bridges and tunnels. We are a primary recipient. We do have a sub-recipient in the form of the NYPD. All of the monies that the NYPD receives have to be dedicated to efforts in New York City Transit. The Port Security Grant Program is a maritime-based grant program. The only agency here at Bridge and Tunnels that is eligible for a PSGP funding is Bridge and Tunnels. And then there's the Urban Area Security Initiative. We are not a direct recipient of Urban Area Security Initiative funding. We are a subrecipient of New York State DHSES. Gotcha, okay. So here's just, an overview, an illustration of just the last few years of how we've benefited from these funding streams. If you go back to 2020, we had 7 out of 8 projects funded. The MTA, as a primary stakeholder in the Transit Security Grant Program, can submit 8 investment justifications, and we usually mix those IGAs up into a layered approach of, capital security mitigations, operational efforts, training, et cetera. So in 2020, we received 21.1, or almost 21.2 million, and had 7 out of 8 investment justifications funded. If we go down to 2021, you see it went down a little bit. And we also benefited from the Port Security Grant Program in 2021. 2022, 10.3 million, and then 2023 shows you 14.4. We also got some very generous grant funding from the LE Tech Grant, which is a state grant program which helped fund the MTA PD with some, I believe, unmanned aerial systems. And then there was a body-worn camera policy implementation program grant that we received in 2023 that supported body-worn cameras. And that was from the Department of Justice, the Federal Department of Justice. So occasionally you'll see that there are other funding streams that become available that we take advantage of in addition to the 3 major funding streams I mentioned earlier. So here we look at this fiscal year, 2024. And as I stated earlier, we have 8 investment justifications. You could see there is a mix there of, capital improvements, much in the form of CCTV, operational deployment from the MTA PD. You'll see that MTA Chase program. That's not a banking program. That's a commuter rail heightened alert anti-terrorism strategic effort, and that's for targeted counterterrorism patrols and activities, uniform presence in high-density, target-rich environments. You could see that we did put in 3 investment justifications for the Port Security Grant Program that are germane to Bridge and Tunnels, and it involves some detection technologies, some training and exercises, and some monies for special events such as the marathon, New York City Marathon, et cetera. And that's it. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to take them.
I have a question.
Sure.
Am I correct that the federal government has not increased the amount of investment in transit security in 10 years, and actually it went down from 9/11 about 50%?
It's actually, Chairman, it actually hasn't been increased. It actually decreased dramatically in 2012.
Yeah.
The high point was 2009, where it was over $350 million, decreased to around $200 million by 2011, and then in 2012 it really fell off a cliff and went to $100 million. It's been stagnant at $100 million since 2012.
And we get what piece of the 100 million?
So it varies. We usually fall within the 22 to 30, over 30% range. Over the course of the lifespan of the program, we're at 28%. We have seen a lot of support from elected representatives and from TSA that go to the Hill and advocate for a higher appropriation, but it hasn't translated into that happening yet. So we do look forward to the days when we actually, as a recipient, received over $100 million. In 2009, we received over $100 million. Now the entire national appropriation that we compete for is $100 million. So.
The next time, whether it's a follow-up to give to the committee, I'd like to compare it to the security anti-terrorism money that's being distributed to localities and to transportation operations for other modes. The fact that transit, which is clearly, if we're realistic, a focal point of the bad guys, we've seen that again and again, has been going down for a long time and is relative to the scale of the challenges, a pretty moderate amount, is a source of concern. I want us to make a more forceful case to the Congress, especially our New Yorkers, about that. That doesn't make any sense to me.
No, I 100% agree, and, the Port Authority is, a stakeholder who competes for these funds as well, and of course, that takes into account aviation. I can tell you, hasn't translated into more dollars, but the current head of TSA and the main stakeholders in these grant programs are FEMA and TSA. FEMA administers these programs, so they own the programs as far as the terms and conditions, the application process, and then monitoring the spend downs and the activities that coincide with the awards. TSA is the subject matter expert, and the current TSA administrator, Robert Prokosky, has been an advocate of surface transportation. Prior to that, it was really focused on aviation. You can understand that in the aftermath of 9/11 and the creation of the Department of Homeland Security shortly thereafter. The emphasis was aviation, and it kind of stayed there. But this particular administrator, who's been in place for a while, he actually has bridged two presidential administrations, which is kind of unique, has been an advocate of surface.
Yeah, I've met with him, and he is a strong advocate and a good partner. But I think we got to make the case.
Yes, sir.
Because every day we carry way more people than all the New York airports combined.
Absolutely.
And, we've learned over time that, as I say, the bad guys do tend to focus on the iconic New York City transportation system. So we need a little more help from the feds on this. It doesn't make sense that it's been going down over time, given the experience. I also want to highlight the fact that on one of the three grants that you put on your list, the UASI category, the MTA is not even considered a direct grantee, eligible direct grantee. Port Authority is, NYPD is, others. It's time to fix that, and I have made that case to state dishes, and we need to lock that down. It makes no sense that we have to shake the cup with other agencies instead of being allowed to participate directly in that grant program. Okay?
Yes, and that's a larger funding pool. That's double the Transit Security Grant Program and the Port. Transit and Port are $100 million each before carve-outs. The UASI is $200 million or close to it, so it's a larger funding pool.
So there's no amount of bureaucratic mumbo-jumbo that can convince me that we shouldn't be a direct eligible applicant for that category as well.
Well, your support is greatly appreciated, sir.
All
Thank
right,
you.
so but now we got to take it to our colleagues about making us eligible. Okay, with that.
I'm
Ms.
sorry,
Bla-
Mr. Chair, I have a
Please,
question.
Ms. Lopez.
Thank you. With respect to the funding, do we receive the funding based on a reimbursement basis, or is it upfront? How do we
It's a
obtain-
reimbursement basis.
Okay, thank you. And that goes for all, as a direct recipient and a
Yes.
subrecipient as well?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
My display of morning grouchiness is over, and we can move on to other business. We now have a quorum, so I'm going to ask for the approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Okay. Any corrections or clarifications? No? Hearing nothing else, minutes are approved. I think that is the business of this meeting. Does anybody else want to raise anything? I just want to repeat, because we're all in this, this committee is focused on many things. A couple things. One, I obviously have been having some events with the mayor where every time we talk about the trend on subway crime, and it's positive. 12% down versus pre-COVID. That's the stat that I focus on the most. Our MTA PD is part of that story. We tip of the hat always to the NYPD, who has principal responsibility. MTA PD is leading the charge at a couple of the major terminals in the subway environment as well, and that's well done. And the second is for safety and security. It was alluded to by one of the speakers, the incredibly successful planning for how to manage what looked like it was going to be a significantly disruptive demonstration, which, based on the intel, was directed at Grand Central last week. And planning between our MTA-PD, NYPD, and other agencies led to a very successful management. There was no closure. Our customers all got there. Kathy Rinaldi and the team at Metro-North did an amazing job planning and executing, along with the law enforcement professionals. That's what we do and we're going to keep doing. So two important points to be made on the safety and security front. And I just want to thank you. With that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Thank you, Mr. Herbst. Thank you for the second, Ms. Lopez. We are adjourned.